Hi, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our second LinkedIn Live event in the startup series. Those who have missed our first session on networking, this is the second of the series, and it is available under the video section on the Arctic Invent page. And the key takeaway in that session was that you have to start networking way before you are even starting or thinking about building a startup, right? Now, today our agenda would be to how to make your startup investor ready, right? It's a logical extension to our previous conversation. Bharat, my colleague, will also post the link of the previous conversation in the comment section, and I definitely want you all to have a look at that. It's amazing session, and we receive a lot of great feedbacks from a lot of people. For the people who are here for the first time, hi, my name is Govind. I am IPR strategist. I run a company called Arctic Invent, and we work with startups and SMEs, helping them with their entire IP portfolio. Our guest speaker today is someone who has been working with startup for a decade now, and he has worked in organizations like NASCOM and helped so many startups in getting successful. So let me welcome Dr. Sunil and Dr. Sunil, if you could briefly introduce yourself and then we can start the session. And I'm really looking forward for the session today. Please ask your questions in the meantime. We will definitely pick up the questions in the end or in the middle as the time permits. So please, over to you, Dr. Sunil.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Govind, for having me here. First of all, I would like to start with an apology for being for bringing this delay. Uh, had an intensive day today, so my apologies for this delay. So, to those who don't know me, guys, I'm Dr. Sunil, you know, co-founder and CEO of Sachi Connect, which is largely a subsidiary of a large PE fund in India. Uh, to introduce myself, I am a dental surgeon turned entrepreneur. In 2012, I decided to move on from my dental practice and then opted to become an entrepreneur. Yeah, that's and then the journey continues, and there is a lot that I probably will be sharing in this whole conversation.
Great. So, Dr. Sunil, very interesting and very fascinating, journey from a dental surgeon. I think dental surgeons are the best salesperson, as I understand. But dental surgeon to a startup power connector. How do you describe this journey? I mean, and what our startup friends can learn from it?
Uh, so let me take you through the whole journey in that case. Uh, so 2012, when I decided that this is something that I cannot pursue for the rest of my life. Let's explore something new, and that's where the idea of something of solving something for my fraternity of that time came into my mind, and I started working on that. Thankfully, got the right people along with me. Started my first startup in 2013 mid, which was a tool in inventory and dental practice management for dental setups, because we realized that the larger setups, the larger hospitals do have budgets, so they are able to translate things on systems. They were able to hire and buy softwares. That time Tracto and the rest of the players were not so prominent, so we got into action that time. And later on in 2016, later we exited. From there I got into NASCOM. I think my first this company gave me the first transition from being a dental practitioner to the technology first hand exposure. And then I landed up in the best organization, I would say, the best place for me also at that very moment, because then that was a direct confrontation to the technology. I was surrounded with people who are majority of them who are graduates of IITs. Now imagine a dental surgeon sitting and having the conversations around what tech can solve and all that, with the IIT. And so that was a perfect transition for me. And then in the last 6 years, in those 6 years at NASCOM, I had some very challenging roles, some interesting work, some interesting people. not just interesting, but I would say the best of the best people I got the chance to work with, right from the bottom to the top management. Everyone was so fascinated and everyone was so encouraging. Led some of the strategic programs there at NASCOM in Northern Region, 10,000 Startup, then the Deep Tech Club, the Global VC Connect program, and many other initiatives that we took there and successfully executed. Later on, entrepreneurship calling again, got into the second startup, which is now Sachi Connect. Uh, uh, we run it very much like a startup, although being a part of a large PE family. And what we do today, we have created a platform for people like us who are in early to growth stage in deep tech domain, trying to solve for global problems. End-to-end ecosystem we have created, and that's what we are doing.
Great. No, I think great learning here. I think one learning that I will take away from this is that you don't know when you will find the right problem to solve. Being in a dental surgeon, and you found that inventory management could be one of the area that you can startup, right? So I think great learning here that problems are everywhere. It's just that you have to pick up and kind of solve it.
Yeah.
And
You just can't
incidentally,
afford to be ignorant about it.
yes. And incidentally, I also kind of came out of corporate 2012. So I think somewhere our journey coincide in the way that when we started Arctic Invent, and you got in the startup journey. So very interesting. 2012 for both of us personally, so to say, right? So in your times of head of products at NASCOM, there has been, of course, a lot of change has been happening in India as a landscape. But you have been with NASCOM for quite a while, right? So what do you think has changed in terms of ground realities, the ecosystem in India from the startup point of view, and what we can learn from those kind of changes, so to say?
I think everything has changed. Yeah. In last, uh, in fact, I can say in the last 2 years, the number of changes, the quantum of changes that we have seen was equivalent to the last 5 years, and that was equivalent to almost 10 years before that. So I mean, things are changing abruptly these days. Uh, I can compare this journey with the first startup journey, where uh, the color of the money was never a concern. It was, when you are as a founder, when you are raising money, it's just money, right? Wherever the money is coming from, that was a secondary concern, but the money was the money, right? Today, the color of the money has got a very high significance, right? Before deciding on money, you want to see who is the person, what value the person will be bringing, just apart from being just the monetary part of it. So and the whole the ecosystem has changed. The seed investment in my first startup was 20 lakhs. Can you imagine a 20 lakh seed investment today? It's not possible. I mean, up to 1 crore, so you are getting in most of the government incubators. The
Right.
government has opened up all the arms to support the startup ecosystem. So I
Right.
think up to 1 crore, the whole barrier, the whole definition of seed and angel, all those things have gone. Things have
Sure.
changed. The ecosystem was, I mean, I don't think there was an ecosystem that way. That was a very uh, early nurturing of ecosystem was happening there. But and handful of angel networks, handful of people who understood about startup. And today, startup has become a preferential choice for a lot of people to pursue as a career option. So things have changed
Sure.
abruptly. Considerably, things have changed.
Sure. So I think like you rightly said, that it's about that money has become easy. People have startups are also becoming choosy who they want them to invest in, right? That's one takeaway that I can, of course, take from the conversations. And with the Sachi Connect, I know that it's a platform where you are trying to connect startups and investors, and you work with startups and investors on the day-to-day basis. So can you tell us a bit about what kind of problem that Sachi Connects aims to solve, and how startups and investor can benefit from it. A bit of background would really help our
Sure.
listeners
So
today.
in that case, let me share the idea of Sanchi Connect. Where did it come from? Now, I only spoke about the massive evolution which happened in the whole startup ecosystem. Uh, One thing which I think has not considerably changed was the way startups, the founders, were looking out for funding for fundraising. 10 years back, if somebody had to reach out to who had to raise funds, the options were: you take references, you will start going to the various VC funds and angel networks website, you will apply there, right? These were the only ways to raise funds. uh, and in this whole process, especially when you were trying to when you go to different angel networks or in different institutions for fundraising, you end up wasting so much of time in terms of defining, providing the information and all, right? Now, I thought there is something that we can do around this, right? So we we decided to change this whole way. So that's what Sanchi Connect stand for. We decided that we will have a consolidated repository of not everyone. We don't want to operate with lakhs of startups. We only want to focus on a specific category of startups. And we said to these guys who qualify our criteria, we will create an end-to-end ecosystem where
Hmm.
once you have submitted the information, then your life is like a cakewalk, right? So we brought in all the investors, we brought in the corporate, the buyer side. So what are the so for a product company or for a startup who's trying to sell to the enterprise, or who's in B2B space, what are the key things which a founder is struggling with? Number one, you're struggling with fundraising. Number two, you're struggling with getting the customers onboarded. The number three is you're struggling with having the right people in the team. We said, can we create an end-to-end transactional ecosystem around this for a curated set of startups and provide them a frictionless experience?
Hmm.
And that's what actually gave birth to Sanchi Connect. Today, as we speak, we have 150 plus curated deep tech startups, ranging from pre-revenue to those who are making revenues in 10 million plus USD ARR. And then we have investors who invest in a as low as a $50,000 check size to $20 million check size. So all those who have interest, who are keen to be a part of a deep tech story, we have brought those people and we are growing ourselves. We have a global perspective around this. We know that we completely understand that majority of the deep tech solution, number one, belongs to enterprise space. And unfortunately, so far the major market for enterprise startup exists outside India. So we
Hmm.
cannot afford to lose out on having the global players, the global buyers, the global VC community to be with us to create the real value for the startups with whom we are working. So that gave rise to the whole birth of Sanchi Connect. I
Oh,
hope
great. I think,
a complete
sorry.
picture of what we stand for.
Yeah. No, great. I think, again, picking the right problem, so to say, can be termed as your forte, and really great that Sanchi Connect is actually trying to solve this, big problem that you mentioned. Now, one of the word that you used, and it's pretty evident on the website, is deep tech, right? And so when you say deep tech, what's your or Sanchi Connect definition of deep tech, and how do startups really, think about positioning themselves as deep tech?
First of all, I would say don't startups don't need to manipulate their story for us, right? and glad that you brought in the point that what is our definition of deep tech, because it's very subjective. Every institution, every entity wants to have their own, and that's a very personal choice. People define their own definition, right? So for us, what really qualifies to be a deep tech is, number one, either you're a creator of something disruptive or something new, which means you are a IP holder, right? Number two, if you are trying to ride on the emerging tech like AI, ML, quantum, blockchain, and all the fancy technologies, we are trying to live right on these technologies. while and trying to build a strong moat, strong competitive edge to solve a global problem. So that also we as Sanchi Connect, we try to categorize in deep tech. So these are the two parameters that we use when we categorize anyone to be a deep tech, whether they are a deep tech or not.
Okay, great. I think very very relevant definition, and the way uh, I have been defining in my head deep tech was that any technology or company which takes about 6 months to 12 months to kind of reverse engineer could be termed as deep tech. I think any technology for that matter, that may take 6 months to 12 months to reverse engineer by putting all the resource could be somewhere called as deep tech in the technology space. That kind of I have been hearing this kind of deep tech definition from a lot of foreign VCs and foreign investors, that is how they define deep tech. And one of the keyword that you mentioned, IP, and of course at Arctic, as you know, that we help companies and startups with their IP, and we do say to them, hey, if you are a deep tech, you need to have IP in place and IPR portfolios in place, and that is one validation that you are a deep tech company. But could you tell a bit about again your definition of IP, and what is the role of IP portfolios in the entire startup ecosystem, or when they are going for the investment rounds or in the market?
No, I mean those who are riding on the IPs, those who have already created something which is owned by them intellectually. I mean they always have a upper edge. Whether you go to sell your product to a corporate, to a buyer, or you go to the investor, there is definitely a moat. There is definitely a barrier you have already created. So of course, I mean that's the first preference for anyone across the world, I would say, when it comes to identifying a particular startup between from a group of pool. So yeah, of course, I mean those who are creating the IPs, these are always the first preference for us, and we also we try to count on people like you uh, to support some of the startups to protect their IPs, because a lot of times what we have seen is uh, the founders have that, because these are all most of the startups founded in deep tech domain are by the core techie founders. They don't understand much of the business side of the story. So that's where they struggle. They believe in creating things, but they don't know how to protect all that, right? So I mean, yeah, that's very much sought after by many of the founders when they come to us also. That but I don't know whether it's a IP or not, and many a times we have to tell them that, boss, you should definitely consult a IP expert and understand whether this can, because if you are able to create it into an actual certified IP, then you are the things drastically change for you across all the domains.
Yeah. No, absolutely true. And I think that has been our experiences with a lot of tech startups or deep tech startups who we work with. And what we realize that still there is a misconception that, patent is IP, right, for that matter. And and our observation has been that when we are talking about IP, it is more holistic. It could be secret, it could be design, it could be codes, it could be the name, it could be technology or patent, so on and so forth, right? It's a combination and a mixture of lot of different things, or even the people for that matter, and that will create the portfolio. And that has been our experiences, and that is where we have been trying to put across that it's not about just filing a IPR and then throwing towards an investor and saying that, hey, we are a deep tech IP company. I think there has to be some way it is related to the business. So that has been our understanding. But great to also got your point of view as an investor and as a platform who is enabling that. But having said that, since you have looked at both the sides of startups and investors, what is your observation where startups get strong? Some find it very easy to attract investment. Some, even having a great product or a service, still fail to get investors. So what are they doing wrong?
So my core hypothesis is that if you bring in 100 curated startups in a room and bring another set of 100 investors in the room, not that all 100 startups will get funded. There will be not even 10% of those guys of the startups will be able to raise funds. Right? The problem is not the product. Right? It is not that the solution is not making sense. It is around who you are going to. Are you reaching out to the right person? Because every investor, when decide to make an investment, they have a core thesis around their own investment, right? So I, as an investor, I might have a thesis around I'll be investing in, say, SaaS. I'll be investing in SaaS, and that too in healthcare, right? So what I have personally seen is the moment a founder decides to raise funds, they start spamming every investor. Right? They start writing to every investor without realizing whether my business really aligns to their investment thesis or not. This is a big problem, I think, which need to be solved, and we are, to some extent, we are also trying to cater to this problem. Number two is specifically in the deep tech domain, being part of a lot of conversations between the founders and the investors, having a comfort zone in the valuation terms is a big mess. Most of the founders in the beginning days struggle to raise funds because of the valuation gap. So that's again one thing which need to be resolved, and the founders need to be little more realistic, especially in the early stage. When you're just about when you're working on the product side, you have not got the product commercialized, there is no validation out there. The valuation need to be seen actually through and through. Right? The moment you have commercialized, the moment you have seen a commercial value of the product out there from the customer side, then things can still be manipulated. Right? And let's be realistic, every tech is not you can't commercialize every tech. So the risk of investing in a tech which is in pre-revenue is very high. Right? So these are the 2 points that I would like to bring up, where I see a lot of conflict between the two sides.
Okay. So what I take away from this conversation is that founders are also, while they have to define their customers very, very specifically, who is my customer, they also have to define their investors, who they really want to target. Not everybody is their customers, right?
Of course.
And not everybody is their investor. So I think that is one of the great takeaway that a lot of listeners can take it here, that it's not that you have to spam everybody, knock every door. It's very, very specific, and be realistic about these conversations. I think great value addition here. And so when coming back to the topic of the talk, for the talk today, what do you think startups should do to make them investment ready? And are there any steps to follow? Something that you believe that these are the 5 things they must be doing. Of course, it will vary from the stage to stage, but in your definition, when you onboard a lot of startups on Sanchi Connect, what is your advice, or when they should be even reaching out to Sanchi Connect to even say that, hey, we are investment ready now?
So as Sanchi Connect, we are stage agnostic. As I said, we are working with startups which are in the MVP or a prototype stage, to people who have achieved the product market fit also. But having said that, let me share my personal take on the startup readiness on investment. Right? So there is a step-by-step approach to it. As a founder, so the very first thing is to identify a problem that exists at scale and which is solvable. Right? The moment you have identified a problem and you think that you have the capability and have a suggestive solution to solve that at scale, you need to have a team defined. You need to have the core team, the core people who will be working with you, because one-man team is a little risky affair, and it's really difficult to have all expectations fulfilled from an individual, right? You need to have the right team in place, and the moment that happens, the third step is probably, start working on the MVP or a prototype, and start in the meanwhile start doing the A/B testing along with it, because a lot of times we come up with tens of solutions to every problem, and then most of the solutions don't work out well. And then the fourth point, which I would say would be the last one, is the moment you have defined a way to solve this problem, start building on optimization, start building on creating moat around it, so that you are able to create resistance for others to enter that domain, and a differentiator where you are able to prove that you are better than the existing solutions, or you are better, or you are placed in such a way that anyone who try to copy you will take x amount of time to reach that, and that's the time when you will have a upper edge. So I think if somebody follows these 4 steps, the chances of investment raising, the chances of investors taking the founder seriously, I think goes on a little better side. Sorry, I had a bad throat.
No, that's no problem. Let me take a break for a minute. Okay, so now let's move the spotlight to investors, right? And of course, not like you said, not everybody is your investor, but as a startup founders, they can also fall in a trap of a wrong investor as well, right? So as a startup, what they need to look for an investor, I mean, how they can know that if this investor is right for them or this is not a right investor for them. So how do they go about even finding the right investor or choosing the right investor for that matter?
Yeah, so as I said earlier also, it's not just it's not just about the money. You need to start, because 10 years back there were a handful of investors out there. Today there is no dearth of investors, whether it is from the institutional side or angel network side, or the the syndicates, or there are a number of ways to get funded, right? So you have choices. So which means one thing is sure, that if you're working on a genuine problem which you can solve efficiently, there will be people to fund you. Now what really matters is who are those people, because when I say who, which means what value apart from the money these people will bring on the table. So let's say I'm solving for a supply chain, I'm solving for a supply chain problem, and then I have couple of options, couple of individuals who are ready to invest in my idea. Probably the one, if any of them belongs to this industry and who has been there, done it, and has got industry connects and all that already with him, that becomes a better choice for me, because it's not just about the money. The person will be able to open additional doors for me also, as in a business, right? Because for end of the day, it's the customer money which will take you to the next level, right? Investors money is to amplify your efforts, but at the same time the next round of funding will come when people start seeing the increase in revenues, the customer money coming in on recurring basis, right? So I think that's very important. That's something that the founders should always be critical about.
Sure. So on a personal front, what's your take on Shark Tank way of investing in startup? Do you like it, or what's your opinion on that?
I think Shark Tank way of investing, I hope the world understand that those who are being projected on a 5-minute stage is not just these people have been called off yesterday. These people have gone through a grueling cycle of evaluation and all that, and after a point they are brought in front of esteemed jury members, right? So there is a way. I mean, it can't be like I just saw someone love at first sight in investment spaces. I don't have a belief in it. It can only happen if I have already done a homework in that domain. I already understand that domain. I already understand that space. So I've already done all that homework. So it's actually not the love at first sight, right?
Okay.
Uh, so and if the question is more around the take on the Shark Tank as a stage, I think it has done a commendable job in terms of evangelizing the whole entrepreneurship to all the nooks and corners of the country. Today, my wife, my parents, everyone understand what the valuation is. Right? So
Absolutely.
that's a big success of this platforms like this. Yeah.
Sure. No, I think I agree that, of course, it's like arranged marriage also, that you have already sorted, lot of startups, and then basically got to a level that parents has to decide that whether they want to, marry or not, right? So I get the analogy. But in your experience, is it also creating this kind of fear of missing out in a lot of people who are doing, fairly well, and they just feel that, running a startup is easy, and it's easy to raise money and things, and that is actually not doing a great service to the entire ecosystem? Or is it really a good way to actually push people to come in the entrepreneurship and startups?
So I keep on saying this thing, I think, again and again to wherever this kind of question comes in. Entrepreneurship is not a career option. It's a way of living your life, right? It's a lifestyle. If you are addicted to solve problems on day-to-day basis, if you love seeing ups and downs, abrupt ups and downs in your life, then entrepreneurship is the option, right? Entrepreneurship is the way of living your life, which gives you all that kick on daily basis. So long story short, that would be my take on this.
So if you're a Khatro Mein Khiladi, then entrepreneurship and startup is for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, great. Now we are almost to the concluding part of our conversation. But let's try to collect the key takeaways. So two questions as a main key takeaway from today's discussion. First is, at what stage do you feel that startup should look for investment? I think that's first thing that I want to give away to my audience today.
I would like to repeat the same thing again. Number one, you identified a problem which exists at scale, and you think you have the caliber to solve it. Number two, you have got the right people with you who will be there with you in long run. Number three, you have done those A/B testings. You have done some work in terms of prototyping and all. And then number four, you have you are able to optimize this whole thing. You are able to create a moat for yourself. The moment you think that these four things I have achieved or I'm about to achieve, you are investment ready, is what I personally feel.
Great.
That's the time when you should start going out and start talking to the people around you.
Okay. No, great. That's a really great takeaway, and kind of something that people should note and keep in mind when they are thinking about that. Are they are that at a stage that they are looking for investment, or they should be looking for investment? And the last thing would be that four things that they should be doing to make them investment ready.
I think I will again repeat the same thing. These are the four secret sauce for me to be to make anyone be prepared, be eligible to stand in front of somebody who understand this who understand the investment space, or not just from the investment space, also from whom you are expecting the person to buy, or to become your customers. You will have to. I mean, without this, you just can't afford to go out and start talking to the people.
Sure. No, great. I think great insights and conversation. We don't. If we have any questions, we can pause for 15 seconds and then see if there is any question. Otherwise, of course, thank you, Dr. Sunil, for sharing all these great insights. I'm sure our listeners and people who will watch this video even after the LinkedIn Live would benefit from it. And I, of course, love the idea of Sanchi Connect. I think a lot of people I spoke to, and I got introduced to Sanchi Connect, they loved the idea. So all the best to Sanchi Connect for helping startup, and looking forward to see many startups coming out of India. So thank you for creating such a beautiful platform and also contributing so much today to our audience. So no questions as of today, but great. I'm sure people will post their questions, and I'll definitely reach out to you for such answers. But thank you so much, Dr. Sunil, and lovely talking to you, and looking forward for more such sessions.
Thank you, Govind, for having me here. I really enjoyed having the conversation, and thank you for the work that you are doing in terms of supporting startups with related to IPR support all around.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Take care.
Great. So that's all for today, my friends. And what you can learn in the next session is with Mr. Kaushik Bose. He has been salesperson for in startups for many years. So our next session is on 16th of December at 3 o'clock, and we are talking about how to get your first sales in startup. If you're a pre-revenue, or if you are already developing a product, or you're already making a startup, or you have few customers, I think it would be a great session to come and learn from Kaushik. Links are in the comment section. My colleague has shared it. So I look forward for you to register in that session, and I love to hear what's your feedback on these sessions, and would love to know more ideas and areas where we should be doing these sessions. Thank you all for watching this, and if you're watching after the live, thank you for watching and staying up so far. Wish you a great week ahead, and also happy building startup. Thank you.